Coming up on One Detroit, my conversation with new Oakland County exec David Coulter. Leadership change for the first time in a generation. Plus, Nolan and Stephen Henderson debate the new regional transit plan announced this week.
The district may, in the next few years, move out of their headquarters at the Fisher Building.
Then, big changes for Detroit Public Schools. Lori Higgins from Chalkbeat Detroit fills us in. And the holidays are coming to Detroit. I'm Christy McDonald. We're hanging out at Tech Town this week in Midtown. Join me. One Detroit is coming up.
Masco Corporation is proud to manufacture innovative and environmentally friendly products for the home. Delta faucets, craft-made in Merilite cabinets, and Behr brand paints have all been designed with you in mind. Masco and its family of companies, serving Michigan communities since 1929.
Support also provided by the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, a partner with communities where children come first. The Cynthia and Etzel Ford Fund for Journalism at Detroit Public TV. The Detroit Journalism Engagement Fund, and by
Business Leaders for Michigan has 5 priorities to make Michigan a top 10 state. Achieve a balanced budget, cut long-term debt, fix our roads, improve all levels of education, further economic growth, plan for a stronger Michigan. How does diversity bring energy to us all? At DTE Energy, we believe that it's the contributions of all that build great communities. As a company, we grow stronger by welcoming the unique perspectives of everyone. As community members, we support our state's broad culture and heritage. From working closely with women and minority-owned suppliers to embracing our local cultures, DTE Energy is powering diversity. The DTE Energy Foundation is a proud sponsor of Detroit Public Television.
Also brought to you by Ally, Nissan Foundation, and viewers like you. Thank you.
Hi there and welcome to One Detroit. I'm Christy McDonald. We are at Tech Town this week in Midtown. It's a tech and local business incubator that has grown over the last 15 years. A lot of businesses get off the ground here with expertise, help, and office space. It is a pretty great spot. We're happy to be here. We have a lot coming up for you on the show. A new regional transit plan announced this week cuts out Macomb County. Nolan and Stephen Henderson debate what could end up in front of voters in 2020. And how a county will vote on that plan could have a lot to do with its leadership. Coming up, my interview with new Oakland County Executive David Coulter, what direction he thinks the county should go in. Then some big changes are planned for Detroit Public Schools, and parents get to weigh in. Lori Higgins from Chalkbeat Detroit joins me to explain. And get ready for the holiday lights this weekend in Detroit. That is all coming up for you on the show. But we are starting off with my conversation with new Oakland County Executive David Coulter. After a few months on the job, I thought it would be a good time to check in and see what's going on his agenda and how he sees regional cooperation, especially given a new push for regional transit this week. This is the biggest leadership change the county has seen in almost 30 years. From Brooks Patterson, Republican power broker, to Dave Coulter, an openly gay Democrat. And as far apart as that may seem, there has been some slow change to the demographics of Oakland County. 2 flipped congressional seats, and heading into election 2020, a pivotal county for presidential votes. I met up with Dave in downtown Rochester.
I'm Dave Coulter, and I can't thank you enough for coming out.
The Rochester Public Library on a Thursday afternoon is the latest town hall for new Oakland County Executive David Coulter.
Can you talk about what we're doing to help homeless in Oakland County?
The questions Coulter gets range from deer crashes to financial stability to school safety.
I'm going to be a county executive that's willing to work with everybody. No political party has a monopoly on great ideas, and I want to hear from good ideas no matter where they come from.
It's been 27 years since there was a new county exec. Coulter was appointed after the death of L. Brooks Patterson in August. The larger-than-life, sometimes controversial, always conservative Republican guided the tone of the county and impacted the region for a generation. Now, residents of a slowly changing Oakland County want to know who Coulter is and what he stands for.
You know, I was prepared on some level. I had been an Oakland County Commissioner for 8 years, and then I was Mayor of Ferndale for 9 years. So I have some public service experience, and I understand how government works. But this is a big job, and going from Ferndale, which is 20,000 people, to Oakland County, which is 1.25 million people, it's a lot of the same issues, but on a much greater magnitude.
You really touched on the fact that Brooks Patterson was synonymous with Oakland County for many years, and really his footprint looms large. People can look now and say, how does your leadership differ, and what direction will that then take Oakland County in?
Yeah. And I have a lot of respect for Brooks Patterson, and he laid a great foundation for Oakland County. And he was an icon. So I've told people I'm not trying to be Brooks Patterson or the next Brooks Patterson. I can only try to be the best version of myself that I can be. And my particular leadership style is collaborative. I don't pretend to have all the answers, but I think what I'm good at and what government can be good at is as a convener and bringing the right people together to work on issues, get all the perspectives. So the first thing, besides getting my leadership team in place, that I had to do is we had to pass a budget in Oakland County, and it was due in about 3 weeks after my appointment. So as if that wasn't challenging enough, I laid down the marker that I wanted the budget to be passed unanimously. So we reached out to the Republicans, the Democrats. We made sure everybody's voice was heard. We tried to incorporate what everybody was thinking and asking about in the budget. And I'm really proud of the fact that by the end of September, we passed a 3-year balanced budget unanimously in Oakland County.
I think it's interesting that you bring up Washington and the polarization there of the parties, because people would look at Oakland County now and say, usually a Republican stronghold. Now you have a Democrat who's the county executive. You have a majority of Democrats as the county commissioners. How does that change the direction of the county? Do you believe that there's any change in the direction now?
Well, I do believe there's a change, but it's a change that's been happening. This didn't happen overnight or with my appointment. Governor Whitmer carried Oakland County by 17 points. Hillary Clinton won Oakland County. So this is a county that's been trending blue for a while now, and as a result, some of those sort of more democratic or progressive policies have begun to be adopted. But certainly with me here now as sort of the figurehead in the county, I think a lot of people's expectations are that it will change, and it will, but not in a drastic way. We have a great foundation in Oakland County. We do some things really, really well. Financially, we're in a very good place. That 3-year balanced budget that I mentioned is very important to me. The bond rating that we have as a county, very important to me that we preserve that. So we're gonna maintain that and yet build on that in some ways. So for instance, in the budget that we just passed, we adopted a $15 minimum wage for anybody working for Oakland County. That's a progressive priority. We got safe drinking water stations in all of the high schools and all of the elementary schools across Oakland County, because health is a priority for me, and safe drinking water is really important.
What do you think the perception is of Oakland County?
One is that it's a wealthy county, and frankly it is. That's not just perception. We're the wealthiest county in Michigan, and in a lot of ways we're the economic engine of Michigan. There are a lot of corporate headquarters here, a lot of industry here that really drives Michigan's economy. So that's both a perception and a reality. I think there has sometimes, from a political perspective, been a perception that we're sometimes been the obstacle to regional progress on some issues that are important to people throughout Southeast Michigan. Some of that's fair, some of it's maybe just perception, but that's a particular area that I've tried to address. I've tried to be somebody in this position who reaches out across county lines and city lines.
All right, speaking about regional cooperation, let's get to something that you differ from your predecessor, and that is on regional transit. The county voted against regional transit the last time it was on the ballot. There is word that in January we could see some kind of ballot language that would be on in 2020. Where do you stand in terms of Oakland County's position on transit, knowing full well that the executive's leadership does drive it? We see it in Macomb County and we see it in Wayne County.
Yeah. When I first ran for county commissioner back in 2002, this was one of my 3 key issues, and so I've been preaching this for a long time. We're the only metropolitan area in the country that doesn't have some kind of comprehensive transit system, and it hurts us. It hurts us attracting businesses. It hurts us in keeping our young people here after college or after high school, because transit is important, both economically to get people jobs, to get to the jobs that they need, to keep our young people here, to help our seniors and our people with disabilities get around. I'm a transit advocate. But as you brought up, in 2016, that plan did not pass. Now, it didn't pass overwhelmingly in Macomb, but some people forget it didn't pass in Oakland either. So one of the first things I said is the plan is more important than the timing of when we do it. So we're working with the leaders in the region to see if we can't get to a plan that the voters would be more comfortable with. I don't want to just dust off the old plan and say, now we've got an executive who supports transit, so let's just do that. There were reasons, and I think fairly legitimate reasons, why Oakland voters rejected that plan in 2016. So my job is to see if we can't craft a new plan that incorporates some of the concerns that voters had last time and see if we can't get that before them.
A couple of things to note here. Coulter just announced a few weeks ago that he is running for the job when his term is up, which caught some people by surprise and makes his agenda more open for scrutiny. And that pits him against fellow Democrat and Oakland County Treasurer Andy Meisner, who's also running, and announced that even before Brooks had passed away. And don't forget, there's still a lawsuit filed in Oakland County Circuit Court on behalf of the Republican county commissioners contesting Coulter's appointment. We will keep an eye on all of that. All right, turning now to that new regional transit plan that county leaders announced this week. Coulter joined Wayne County Exec Warren Evans and Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan to reveal this four-step proposal, which essentially starts with legislation, paving the way for Wayne, Oakland, and Washtenaw to negotiate together on a plan. Left out? Macomb County. How is this all going to work? Nolan and Stephen Henderson debate this latest attempt at transit.
Okay, so I turned 49 years old this month.
Happy
and
birthday.
I think, yes, and I think that's the exact number of times we have tried to get mass transit in southeast Michigan.
That seemed like a cheap way to get people to send you birthday presents, but yeah, I mean, it's been the sort of problem that in Metro Detroit that has defied solution after solution after solution, decade after decade. This new effort, you know, we don't know enough about it yet.
Yeah.
It's a new funding mechanism that appears designed to close the gaps in service. Because in the current bus system, DDOT and SMART, you have wide swaths of Metro Detroit that aren't covered by bus service. This looks as if it's designed to extend bus service throughout the region, which I think is a good first step with it, and something you might be able to sell to voters.
Yeah, well, it's a less ambitious plan than the last one, and I think that might be what voters were looking for. Voters seemed confused, I think, last time by all of the different things that this was going to do, and they were looking through the plan saying, well, that won't benefit me, that won't benefit me, and saying, I can't support it. I think here, you still have to make the case that this is about making sure that people who need transit, public transit, have it, and everybody is not going to get something out of it, but you're also not asking for nearly as much.
And that's the key, I think. Address the immediate need first. And the benefit of this plan is if they go to the voters with a county-wide tax, nobody can opt out of that tax.
Right.
So right now under the current SMART system, you got big communities. Detroit opts out of the SMART tax. Livonia, Bloomfield Hills, Clarkston, Plymouth, a lot of communities opt out. So you don't really have a regional transit plan. There's 53 communities not in. All communities will be in this. Now what they'll need to do is gradually use this millage that the legislature is being asked to approve to replace the SMART tax. So you don't have two different transit tax systems throughout the region, and create a system that meets the immediate need. The immediate need is to get people without transportation to their jobs, to their schools, to other places they need to go.
I mean, I think you're right about this issue of another tax on top of the SMART tax maybe being a reason that people are a little skittish about this, and they may end up having to put some things in place that make it okay for people to back out of the SMART tax and maintain the service, right? But ultimately, you still need this bigger conversation about transit and what we can do, and to, the things that other communities have that we don't, that we still wouldn't after this, are things that hold us back. And things like bus rapid transit or rail, being able to get from the airport to different places on easy public transit.
And
we don't have any of that stuff.
But there is not yet a mass transit culture in this town.
There is.
I mean, it's largely because there hasn't been mass transit. But we don't know if we put all sorts of fancy new bus lines out there and transportation options, whether it'll be enough to get people out of their cars.
Yeah.
So right now, let's go to the immediate need. Let's get those folks who can't get to work, who can't work because they don't have transportation, and take care of them and meet the needs of employers who need those folks to be able to get to jobs.
Yeah. One of the questions in this is also where does this leave the RTA with its really grand plans? I mean, RTA was, when we passed it, supposed to be the solve for all of these competing issues and conflicts. It was supposed to bring us better transit and more. Is that still the idea, or are we just backing away from that and saying we're going to work with what we have? And RTA is kind of a coordinating council, which we've had forever. We've had transit coordinating.
Well, if you listen to Duggan at that press conference the other day, you listen to Evans, it sounded like they backed off that and just want to sort of close the gaps and improve service with what they have now before they go out with the grand plans. Now, the key factor here, one of the key factors, Macomb's out. Macomb's not participating. Mark Hackle, I talked to him the other day, he said, look, SMART serves us well. It connects all of our communities, and all of our communities are participating. Macomb's the only county with 100% participation.
Right.
Now,
the problem
how well
in
will it
Macomb is, can you get to other places?
And that's it.
And the truth in this region is that lots of people live in Macomb or Oakland or Wayne, and they work somewhere else. And if you live in Mount Clemens and work in Livonia or work in Southfield, it's really hard to get around. We need people like Mark Hackle actually to think about this much bigger than they do. It's not just about his county. It's not just about the communities in his county. It's about how they interconnect with everyone else. And it's great that he's gotten them to all be in SMART, but we need a regional transit.
But again, that was the promise of SMART, that it would interconnect these counties. He's got 100% participation. He's on a little higher ground than Oakland and Wayne that have major opt-outs. So again, if you can make SMART work as a regional transportation system, close the gaps, put more routes out there, put more buses out there, gradually you may attract middle-class consumers or commuters to use the buses. Right now, they don't use the buses. 90% of the people in this region never get on a bus.
So my solution to all of this is to pave over most of the freeways. Make them streets again. People get out of their cars and get on the bus.
Oh, sure.
What do you think? We can get that
done? The economy is screeched
you think we get that done?
To a halt. I think it's a brilliant idea.
All right.
All right, thanks, guys. We'll see you next week. Big changes are on the horizon for Detroit Public Schools, and parents of students now have a chance to let the administration know what they think. They'll have a chance to talk to the board about school conditions, entrance exams, and moving administration headquarters. The community meetings are in December and January. And I caught up with Lori Higgins from Chalkbeat Detroit for the very latest. So, Lori, give us the specifics on what some of these proposals are that the district has come up with that they want input from parents on.
So it's a pretty sweeping plan. They would take King High School, which a lot of people already think is an exam school. They have an exam program, 2 exam programs, but they would make it a full exam school. So anyone trying to get into King High School would have to take an exam to get in. And they would give priority to people who live in the neighborhood, which is an important thing because one of the criticisms that they've had is that, well, what about the people that live in the neighborhood that,
shouldn't that automatically be the place where they go?
Right, and so they've already experienced with the new school at Marygrove, like the benefit of having sort of priority status for people who live in the neighborhood. And so they would give that priority to students. I mean, obviously you'd have to take and pass this exam in order to get in. So that's a really huge part of the proposal. One of the roadblocks is, there are a lot of people that feel like instead of just an exam school, there should also be a possibility for students to enter through an application process. And the district is saying that may be a little too difficult to do. So that's one of the big proposals. And there are a lot of smaller proposals. Probably one thing that the community will latch onto is that the district may, in the next few years, move out of their headquarters at the Fisher Building.
Which is really interesting.
Yeah, the historic Fisher Building, which they paid a lot of money back in the early 2000s for 5 floors of the building. And they would either sell or lease the space. And Dr. Vitti has been committed. He said he's committed to not getting any less than what taxpayers pay for that space. So the headquarters would move to the school that right now houses the Detroit International Academy for Young Women, which is in the old Northern High School building on Woodward Avenue. That school would then move to, and this would actually happen first, the DIA would move first
Before they would even move the headquarters.
Exactly. So they would move to a building that the district, is a district-owned building that used to house a charter school. The district did not renew its lease last year, and so that charter school closed. So the district would move the DIA into that building.
So it's a lot of really looking at facilities and how they can better utilize them. And how would you put in context this plan and what we've seen so far and kind of the moves that Dr. Vidi's made over the last couple of years?
So it is a continuation of a lot of really big moves that Vidi has made, and in the context, for the district is they want to increase enrollment, and that's really crucial to financial stability of the school district. They want to spread out their programs more equitably throughout the district, but then also a really key thing is they want to get more students in buildings that are in good condition. That's a huge thing in a district where many of the buildings are. We like to use the word crumbling. They are in terrible shape. And there was an audit last year that showed that they need $500 million worth of fixes to the buildings, and that number actually will grow within 5 years to $1.4 billion.
Well, you think about the time, and if they're not able to at least do some fixes, and I would sure that there was a bit of a shorter list of the most immediate fixes that the district has to make.
Absolutely, there are buildings that are in really really poor shape. I was just out at Cody High School recently, which is not part of these proposals right now, but Cody High School has. We went in classrooms where their ceiling tiles, like half the ceiling is like the ceiling tiles have fallen down. There are classrooms in the building that they can't even bring kids into because of the concern about the falling tile. And it's a building where there's just a couple hundred students. It can hold more than 1,000 kids. Ideally, in a situation like that, you might close off certain wings of the building. They can't do that because there's so many classrooms here and there and everywhere that they can't use. That there's no way to close off the building.
So some of these facility proposals and in this plan, what are you getting the sense that people are talking about so far, or what some of the bigger concerns or the reaction will be? Because there's going to be public meetings in December and January for parents to speak out on this.
Right, so they actually are in the midst of some public meetings about these specific proposals. I went to one at King High School a couple weeks ago, and I think the biggest they took questions via cards so people could write their questions down on cards. And, obviously one of the questions, as I mentioned, was, can we at least keep some form of an application process at the school? I think that there will be concerns about one of the proposals being moving the Communication and Media Arts High School, which is one of the top performing schools in the district. They would move that school to the building that now houses Ludington Magnet Middle School. And I've already heard from some teachers there who are not really happy about the idea that their program would then move to other locations. But this would set up CMA as giving it an ability to grow and grow its programs and be able to provide more programming, like they'd have access to athletic fields, which they don't have right now.
Right. So we're going to be getting an update from you next month. You're following the kids in college, the 4 students that went to school?
I am, and we just posted an update on Friday, and the students are, they are obviously having some challenges, some academic challenges. The idea of this story was looking at the kinds of programs that exist at the colleges to help students through that very critical first year, and they're being run by people who've been in that situation themselves before, and the students are really taking advantage of them.
All right, well, we'll look forward to that report. And you can find Lori's reports at Chalkbeat Detroit. Just head to onedetroitpbs.org and we will have the link for you there. And that is going to do it for One Detroit. Thanks so much to the folks at Techtown for having us. Go to our website for an interview with Techtown head Ned Stabler and hear all about the work that they are doing here. And coming up next week, it is the best of One Detroit restaurants, cafes, wine bars, and coffee shops. We'll give you a behind-the-scenes look at some of the cool places that we shoot the show. And we are going to leave you with a look at downtown getting ready for the Christmas holiday. The tree lighting at Campus Martius is this weekend, and the pop-up shops are open. Enjoy.
us expand One Detroit's local journalism coverage. Go to dptv.org/OneDetroit and click on the mug to donate. Masco Corporation is proud to manufacture innovative and environmentally friendly products for the home. Delta faucets, craft-made in Merillat cabinets, and Behr brand paints have all been designed with you in mind. Masco and its family of companies, serving Michigan communities since 1929.
Support also provided by the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, a partner with communities where children come first. The Cynthia and Etzel Ford Fund for Journalism at Detroit Public TV. The Detroit Journalism Engagement Fund, and by
Business Leaders for Michigan has 5 priorities to make Michigan a top 10 state. Achieve a balanced budget, cut long-term debt, fix our roads, improve all levels of education, further economic growth, plan for a stronger Michigan. How does diversity bring energy to us all? At DTE Energy, we believe that it's the contributions of all that build great communities. As a company, we grow stronger by welcoming the unique perspectives of everyone. As community members, we support our state's broad culture and heritage. From working closely with women and minority-owned suppliers to embracing our local cultures, DTE Energy is powering diversity. The DTE Energy Foundation is a proud sponsor of Detroit Public Television.
also brought to you by Ally, Nissan Foundation, and viewers like you. Thank you.